Finally, Critique-Opolis is back. So just to give everybody the update, I know we've been off the air for a while, but I may owe Zoom an apology. Maybe. We'll see how this episode goes. But so I had to send in the old recorder and get a new one sent out to me. But as we were just testing it, we tested with two old SD cards, and they both errored out, and I swapped in a new one, and so far, can you believe it, we've gone a whole 40 seconds, and there's no write errors.
That's amazing.
So, sorry we've been off the grid for a bit. We are back. We're not one of those podcasts that recorded like 20 episodes and then just like
dropped off the face of the earth and decided to come back 3 months later.
Yeah, no, we're here. It's just that we were dealing with technical issues, and I guess we're going to have to drop. Do you know how much that SD card was?
No.
Just a card.
Okay.
It was $45. You believe that?
No.
And I thought that the ones at Target were expensive. This was crazy. He handed it to me. I'm like, that's $45?
Where'd you buy it at?
It's Staples. Mm-hmm. And it was behind bulletproof glass, and
wow,
it's like razors at Meijer.
Yeah, or Tide Pods.
Yeah,
at the store.
I don't understand the things that they lock up and that they don't want you to get access to. Mm-hmm. It's like
Beats headphones.
It used to be there was just guns in the hunting section
which makes a lot of sense.
We're locked up, but now you can they're right behind the glass counter.
Toothpaste or toothbrush. Yeah. Who knows?
All right, so we've seen some flicks, and we've got Hollywood gossip to catch up on. We're going to I've got an appointment to get to, so we're going to do a relatively short pod today, but we saw World's Fastest Indian, which I had wanted to see for a while, but opportunity never presented itself. This is actually a true story about a New Zealander named Burt Munro, who modified a 1920 Indian Scout motorcycle. And everybody has different dreams, you know. His dream was to get it speed tested at the Salt Flats was he in Nevada or
in Utah?
Utah. Bonneville Salt Flats, which is, I guess, where they do all the speed trials for the super fast cars. Stars Anthony Hopkins, produced, written, and directed by Roger Donaldson. Give me your thoughts, out of the gate, because I picked this one, and I think you were like, I don't understand what this movie is.
Well, I had never heard of it.
Really?
Yeah, never ever.
Oh.
I was graduating from college when this movie came out, so not doing a lot of movie things, but I really enjoyed it. It took me a minute to get into because it was to me, there was a part A and a part A and a part B.
We watched it in 3 blocks.
Maybe that's probably why too. I thought, okay, I forgot about that detail. But it was there was all this movie before he was going, and then there was his 3 parts, and then there was his travel in the middle, and then there was the actual being at the races. But yeah, now that you say we watched it in 3 different parts, that totally makes sense. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was...
I thought you were going to be because when Anthony Hopkins first came on, you were like, oh, it's Anthony. I like him.
He's just old, and he
I bet he'd love hearing that.
Huh?
But he'd love hearing that.
Yeah, well, sorry, Anthony, you are old. Accomplished, but old. Accomplished and old, sorry, not but. He looks like my grandpa and his brothers. And it was about fast cars, and they were into airplanes, and I like all that stuff.
This was 20 years ago, and he was old then. He's holding it together pretty good.
So, in my quick research, I read that Burt Munro, whom the story is based on, was 68 when he was doing these salt flat runs. Mm-hmm. And
he did 8 or 9 of them, didn't he?
Hopkins was 68 too when he filmed the movie. I don't know. I didn't read about the 8 or 9.
You remember at the end though, it said he went back and forth multiple times.
Oh yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm.
So it's funny because when you first look at this motorcycle, it's like he stripped this thing down. He's taken it apart and built it back together over a series of years. And it's basically a frame with no handlebars. The handlebars are set down almost by the axle of the front tire. Mm-hmm. And he put this like racing shell around the entire car. So it almost looks like it's kind of like a little egg, almost like an oblong egg.
Yeah, you couldn't really see it. That really took my mind. Like I had to really focus on that to understand how.
Like when he's towing it around.
Yeah.
You're like, what the hell is that? It doesn't look like a motorcycle. You didn't even see the tires. But he starts off in New Zealand, and then he's got this neighbor, this kid, who just thinks Burt Munro's the cat's meow, and the parents are like, this goddamn.
He's so weird.
He's weird. He lives in a garage.
He's an old man living in a garage,
and he doesn't mow his lawn. He just burns his lawn down instead of mowing it. And
he has a lemon tree that he goes outside and he pees on to keep it growing. Yeah.
And
he lives in his garage, by the way.
Yeah,
did you say that?
There's no house. There's just the garage. He sleeps in the garage. But he. I think what was interesting about this movie is, aside from his like accomplishing this goal, I think part of what's interesting about it is how he gets to his goal. Is he just has this, I don't know if this is what the guy was really like or if the way Anthony Hopkins portrayed him, but he made friends with everybody.
Yeah, like everywhere he went and everywhere he went and everyone he met, he made friends with.
And
not just like hi, goodbye, like friends, like relationships.
Yeah, and like if you sit back and think about a movie like that, that's so integral to actually getting where you want to go. Is all these little. I mean, I think it's easier to say that now at 50 that like you don't just. Hard work isn't just what gets you to what you want in life. You develop bonds with people, and they lead you into other people, and then that kind of pushes you along your journey. Mm-hmm. And Burt was great at that. From the transvestite lady who ran the Hour Motel.
I forgot about that. Was in this movie. Yeah,
that ran the hourly motel that he stayed at with the vibrating bed, and he knew nothing about Hollywood and like the sex culture
in America after he'd traveled from New Zealand by boat.
Yeah, and just to get his bike registered, she takes him around Hollywood to go where he has to go and find a trailer, and he makes friends with the guy who sells him a trailer and helps him put it together, and he exchanges like his labor, like what he's able to do to fix cars for this trailer, and he makes friends with the cops when he sleeps on the side of the road. What else was cool about this is he just age wasn't a factor for this guy at all.
He had like an underlying heart condition that nobody knew about, that he dealt with on his own by himself. And then he would just like, quote, go back out there and like keep going and doing whatever it was he was doing. It didn't stop him. That was the only thing that I would say, well, besides his look. I mean, he looks old. But other than that, he just like, he wasn't old, would you say mentally? Like he wasn't,
no, he was
his body was old, but he was like young at heart. He was like, this is what I want to do. I've been preparing for this my whole life. This is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that, like, there's that tenderness that shows through when he gets to the Salt Flats. This is like a big event. And you're supposed to...
Huge.
You're supposed to register, like, months in advance.
My heart sank.
Yeah, he's like, he didn't know... He's on the most remote country in the world. How the hell is he going to know about that? And they get over there and they're like, "You're not registered. You can't run this thing." And he's like, 6 months I've been trying to get here, and everyone's like, "Oh, tough shit, man. Sorry."
And it's not like this is what I kept thinking through this movie, like the technology that we have now versus the technology that was available then. It's not like it's not like he could go online to a website and fill in a a form
Yeah.
to say I want to register to this race.
Just
I'm
have
sure
to
he had
know
to do
about
it by he had to know about it, and he probably had to do it by mail. And and remember, he's in New Zealand,
So that's good.
he has. Oh,
It's going back then. It's going to take 3 months for it to get to the U.S.
seriously, oh my heart! When he got there after everything he'd been through and all his like
I was
little
honestly hoping that this is the 60s or the 50s or whatever.
yeah.
That like for example, in my business, like you have to be inspected by the health department. Mm-hmm. But I can almost guarantee you that process 50 years ago for what I do was way less. Oh, you got bees and you bottle of honey. Okay, well, just so we know that you're out here. And that would have been kind of it. Part of me wondered, even though they're making this movie in modern times, I wondered if the whole element of registering would have been a little bit more, it's not a big deal. A little bit old-timey kind of formalities for paperwork aren't that big a deal. But yeah, they like that's what almost crippled the whole thing is not the arduousness of the trip, but bureaucracy. But he got to run the race. I mean, come on.
Oh my gosh, I was just gonna be so.
And you know what? Go ahead.
Oh, I don't know, like so upset if they turned him away after all that he'd been through, and everything that he'd been through, he hadn't even gotten to do anything in the race. Like it just, again, my heart just sank. Like I was like, you could not be telling me we've been watching this movie, and it gets to the part where he wants to do his thing, and they're like, nope, sorry. But yeah, anyway. Yeah,
it's kind of funny though. Like he has a motorcycle that he rides, and he's just not allowed to ride in this open, this like 8-mile stretch of nothing. Like
he can't race anybody.
That's ridiculous. Well, they're not even they're just time trialing. They're just each car gets its own.
Oh, that's true. Okay,
they're not racing. He's not gonna. He might wipe out, but I mean. I think the other thing with him is just his, like he's not like an advanced mathematician or a physicist, or he doesn't have anybody helping him in like wind tunnels figure this stuff out. He just knows the bike so well that like there are fins on the back of this thing to stabilize it, but he starts wobbling a bit because the airflow there was something with the airflow that was kind of making his tail wobble. And then he just knows from experience, he's like, okay, if I pop my head out of the cockpit, the wind resistance will stabilize the back. It's just he knows about how this machine operates.
Yeah, and I think I don't know for sure, but I would think that being on the Salt Flats versus where he was, quote, training in New Zealand, I mean, the terrains aren't even close to similar. So, I mean, because that like blew my mind. I was actually going to look into that more.
He was driving on in New Zealand, he was on the beach.
Oh, that's right, on the sand.
Which is on wet sand. And the salt flats are flat and hard.
Solid, yeah.
Yeah, and his, when they were first looking over the bike, all of the things that would have been outside safety regulations, like he had for his oil pan, he had a wine bottle cork sealing it. And he had hairline cracks in his tires, which at high speed, that's like you're asking to die. And he had fractures in his chain, and it's just like, it's amazing. This bike held together. I mean, he could have been seriously injured. And it kicked off so much heat that it burned his leg.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It did. Yeah.
And he was just kind of like, scorched myself a little bit. And he had a serious burn on his ankle.
Leg. Yeah. On his skin. Ugh.
But it was almost like he had this huge, like, to me, that'd be an injury to me. They're like, I wouldn't be able to work if I wouldn't be able to walk. And he's like, I got where I needed to go. That's all I care about.
And also, I know I keep bringing it up, but being old and doing what he was doing, and the way that you were saying the handlebars were down low, and the way he was laying made my body hurt. Like watching him get into this, I would just say for the moment, contraption.
It's like a land missile.
And like lay down and go at high speeds and then like get up and like walk away. Again, just thinking about it makes my body hurt, quite honestly. Well, I don't know how he was moving.
He didn't sit in this motorcycle. It was there was a seat mostly for the front of his pelvis, but he laid down facing the front tire. Mm-hmm. Like his chest was on where a normal gas tank would be for a motorcycle. And the handles are down right just under the wheel line, not at the axle, above that, mm-hmm. but like, I don't know if he can just turn just ever so slightly. He can't like corner with it. This thing is just built to go fast.
Right.
But, fun movie. I liked it. Let's see if we have any other dirt here about it. Film opened on December 7th in 2005 in New Zealand to positive reviews. That would have been cool to have seen American. Well, I think this was a partial New Zealand production.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it was.
Took in just over $7 million, and then in New Zealand, and wow, that was the lion's share of it. 18.2 million worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
So over a third was in New Zealand just from this guy's story, so everybody must have known him. You know what would be interesting is about the historical accuracy. Real Burt Munro married Florence Bertle Martin on the 6th of August 1925. They divorced in 1551. While the couple had 4 kids together, no mention is made of the kids in the film, but it is implied that he was married and either estranged or divorced. They just touched on that because he kind of befriended the girl at the bank. Remember that?
The girl at the bank.
Yeah, they took her out to the beach, and those street toughs were racing him at the very beginning.
She was a bank teller. In New Zealand. Okay, got it.
The Munro portrayed in the film recalls the death of a twin brother named Ernie, who died when a tree fell on him. The real Munro had an older brother who was killed when a tree fell on him, so that was true. Munro also had a stillborn twin sister. Real Munro set numerous speed records in New Zealand during the 30s through the early 70s. For 40 years he did this. Wow.
Wow, yeah.
That's amazing. 40 years breaking records every year.
Yeah.
However, these records are only implied in the film. Munro was never known to actually urinate on a lemon tree. Director Roger Donaldson added that detail as a tribute to his own father, who did.
That's funny. I thought that was a funny detail. At first, I was kind of like turned off by it, but I was like, that's really funny. Because when Anthony Hopkins' character goes to America, he tells the neighbor kid that he can pee on his lemon tree while he's gone to keep it growing. And the kid's like, I don't know. We'll see about that. But of course,
he totally does. What little boy isn't going to like take the direction from a kid?
Yeah.
Any little boy who's told by an adult, hey, go pee on this thing on a regular basis. Boys do that. Oh, totally, 100%. I'd do it to this day. In reality, Munro's record-breaking run at Bonneville came after several separate visits to the U.S., beginning in '56. So he didn't just come over here, and it made a better story for him to come over here and get turned away and then be allowed. This was demonstrated, for instance, by a letter published in May 1957 edition of Popular Mechanics, page 6, which referred to H.A. quote-unquote Dad Munro and his 1920 Indian Scout. The visit to Bonneville shown in the film was a composite of several made by Munro. In '62, he set a record, of 178 miles an hour, 178.971 at Bonneville. I have never driven that fast.
Yeah, that blew my mind.
I think I've been at like 95, maybe 100 once.
Oh my God.
And that's fast. But this is almost twice that fast in that little thing. Can you imagine? Like, that's the other thing, is if you wipe out and you get all cut up, you are surrounded by miles of salt with open wounds.
Yes.
Like, have you ever had salt in a wound?
Yeah, I know.
Oh my God, you want to die.
Yeah.
It's so painful.
Yeah.
While Munro did reach 205 miles an hour.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know. An uncompleted run on which he crashed, he never set a record of 201 at Bonneville, as the film suggests. Near the end of the film, Speed Week participants throw money into, quote, the hat, and Burt Munro is presented with a bag of cash before he sets the land speed record. In fact, Munro had to take up a collection before Speed Week, as U.S. Customs required a cash bond before releasing his motorcycle. A photograph of the gathered crowd presenting Munro with a bag of cash in '62 was reprinted in the 2006 issue of Hot Rod magazine. Yeah, cool movie. And there's a picture. If anybody wants to check out the Wikipedia article, just look up World's Fastest Indian. That's what we pulled it from. But there is a picture of his. It's a replica of the Indian Scout, which it looks like a little derby car, but it's a motorcycle. Mm-hmm. It's that's so cool. And like, there's pictures of it without the shell on. If you can see it right there. That's far away from you, but.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he'd be
cool.
Just a cool idea. Mm-hmm. This guy decides that this is the thing he wants to build, and he builds it, and he makes it faster and faster, and he travels the world to show it off. I just think that's awesome. Gossip. What was my little note?
About Acme versus Coyote.
Acme versus Coyote. So
a movie.
What? Yeah, we talked about that in a episode. I don't even know what episode, but was it?
It was a long time ago, I feel like.
It was a Blacklist. It was either a Blacklist or a Dailies. But yeah, there was a live action.
Dailies.
Yeah, there was a live action movie that was supposed to be made when we did this recording about the coyote from Bugs Bunny cartoons versus Acme, because he uses all these gadgets made by the Acme Corporation to try and stop the Roadrunner, like the dynamite and the boulders and all that crap. And Will Forte, I don't know if it was animated or he put his voice to it, or I think it was live action, but they made it. And the studio shut it down. It would not release it.
So it's sitting on the shelf somewhere.
Shelf. And I just saw it on, because I called you about it, and I wanted to talk about this because studios do this kind of shit all the time. They'll buy scripts that they have no intention of making, or they'll even make movies and they don't release them, so they can report that, they can deduct it on their corporate tax filings. But Will Forte's little clip on Instagram, he was pissed. Because they all had a great time making this movie, and they're like, oh, it's so good, people are going to love it.
Yep.
It'll never see the light of day. It sucks. I'm just wondering that, I wonder if maybe they'll release it in a few years, or if it or if part of that catalog gets purchased by somebody.
And they go through it and they say,
they're like, hey, we can recapture money on this. I mean, that's what you got to hope for, but what a downer.
Yeah, that was too bad. Gosh, imagine that if you were like an actor, any part of making that movie, and it just got like put on the shelf somewhere.
I mean, at least he got paid.
Yeah, that's true.
But
that's like half of.
Yeah, that's only half. That's like, you want people to see, because especially if you're a comedic actor, people are going to when you do something really funny, they talk about it for perpetuity. And to see him, like, there were so many funny bits in this movie, and we had a great time making it. Now no one's going to see any of it, and it's the property of, I guess, Netflix now. And what a downer! If it is you, Netflix, stop being dicks. Release that movie. Anything else that was on the horizon that you wanted to?
No, I don't think so.
There wasn't anything that. I'm not probing you for anything. I'm not trying to remind you of anything. There wasn't anything in movie news that you wanted to?
No, not that I know of. I mean, the Oscars are coming up.
I'd ask you who you want to win, but I don't care about that event.
The Oscar shorts have been released, so I'm waiting to go see those.
That would be all right.
There's 3 sets: the live, the animated, and the documentaries, and I love. That's one of my most favorite things of the year.
Do we see anything else like around Christmas time that we haven't been able to record?
Yes.
What did we see?
Don't ask me that because I'm not really sure. No,
we
there
talk about
was
Conclave?
something. Can we what?
Did we talk about Conclave?
No, we didn't. But that's nominated for Best Picture.
It is? Mm-hmm. We didn't talk about this?
I don't think so. I don't recall ever talking about it.
Well,
personally, I would recommend this movie. It was very intense, but I thought it was very well done.
The bit at the end, though.
Good cast.
The quote unquote reveal at the end. Mm-hmm. It felt very like it was almost like that was a corporate, topical.
Very much so.
Oh my! Like, I mean, is so like this kind of reveal is so in the zeitgeist.
Yeah.
And let's just jam it down the public's throat one more time and like disguise it as high art.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I didn't see that ending coming for sure. That surprise, whatever you just called it. But it's based on a book. There was a book. I don't know if the book is called Conclave 2. Probably not.
It'd be a terrible name for it because the movie was just called Conclave 1. I don't even think.
But I mentioned it to my mom, and when I mentioned it, she said, "Oh yeah, I read that book."
Oh, I've just touched on it here and there, but I am about a little over 3/4 of the way through Heat 2.
And the book, not the movie. There's no movie yet.
This movie's going to be awesome. This
movie's going to be
so good. And like, I just wish that.
Are they even current? Sorry, go ahead.
No. Are they even currently what?
Filming it? They're not. No. There's just like the script is in the works, right? It's being
adapted into a script, but like.
The book. Okay, I gotcha.
You know what? That'd be interesting. Do a quick search and see if they have anyone cast, because like it's just been Austin Butler for Chris Shiherlis. I mean, that's the rumor. And what's your boyfriend's name? What's that guy's name? From Ferrari.
Christian Bale?
No, Ferrari. We saw it.
Christian Bale was in Ferrari.
No, he wasn't. What's his driver?
Oh, Adam Driver. That Ferrari. What? Not Ford versus Ferrari.
No. That's a totally different movie with a different title.
Is it?
Yeah.
It had the same word in it. What am I supposed to be doing?
IMDb.
Yeah, I got it.
And then Heat 2.
Oh, Heat 2, yeah.
Adam Driver is supposed to be Vincent Hanna, I think. And I may have talked about this on other podcasts, but I'm so charged up for this movie. I can't wait to see what they do with this, especially Michael Mann, like recreating that universe with the same themes and the same tones. It only has 2 people.
Still says rumored, yeah. Oh. Exactly what you just said.
Damn it. Does it say anything about the story development, where he's at, or if he's scouting shooting locations, or... because the book jumps timelines quite a bit. It starts off just immediately after Neil McCauley is shot. The following day, Chris's adventure to get out of L.A., and then many years previous when Hannah is a detective in Chicago before he gets to L.A., and he's tracking down a home invasion crew and busting some of them. And then it jumps to Chris Shaherlis after he's gotten out of L.A. and moved down to South America. Mm-hmm. And I can never pronounce the name of this town, but there is a kind of a free trade zone city, Claude d'Est, or something like it, which if you and I ever watch, I don't know that it'd be totally your kind of movie, but it is Michael Mann and Miami Vice. Mm-hmm. The movie, Crockett and Tubbs, they try to hook up, they're posing as dealers or as transpo guys for coke, and the one of the hubs of the cartel or the kingpin guy they're connecting with is in, I'm going to say Claude d'Est, but I'm not saying it right. Mm-hmm. It is a town that's in the intersection of Paraguay and Colombia, I think. Okay. And it's a free trade zone in that black market, everything from electronics, organic goods, data, hardware, guns, drugs. It all goes through there. And it's kind of, it's not so much police so much as it is like you're allowed to buy and sell and trade illicit things, and the gangsters keep things in check. Like if people show up dead, that's because somebody tried to cheat somebody. But that kind of the thing is like they have these malls. They're like multi-level buildings, and people are running around the edges of them like rats, but there's commerce happening. It's like our markets, but multiple, my farmers markets, but it's multiple levels of them. And, you know, there's banners and just like we have at the farmers markets, but multi-levels of it. And people get in exported goods, and they just tear them right out of the boxes, and they throw all this styrofoam. There are every day there are piles and piles of styrofoam outside of these buildings that scavengers come and pick up and take away, and they start it all over again the next day. Wow! So that city is kind of an easy way for smugglers to move data through, because they can just do it on a flash drive and transfer it around. You can't track it as easily. And Michael Mann made note of this town because he was mystified by how it operated, and he put it in Heat 2. So that's where Chris ends up. And he's working for a family that runs one of these malls. So I think it's kind of neat when you see a director who falls in love with a concept or an actor or a location or the style of dress, and he uses it throughout multiple projects. Yeah, that is neat. And Michael Mann's like famous for that. He does that with particular suits. I've seen him do it with like just lighting. And he's a big fan of doing that with locations. Like he shot a bunch of stuff in Chicago. He shot a bunch of stuff in Miami. He shot a bunch of stuff in LA. It's like those three cities. So it's fun to hook up with a. I think that's why a lot of people fall in love with particular movies or producers or directors, because you can kind of count on seeing some kind of consistency. You know. Yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, I'm so charged up. I can't wait for that movie. I know. I wish more details would come out about it. Takes him so long to. It takes a long time. That's true. It does even take now. Yeah. All right. I think that's it for now. We'll do I don't know if you know how this is. We don't know what we're going to do next. We'll see a movie or we'll do a dailies or something. There's so many dailies that have come out that I don't want to open them up because I'm like, oh, this is what we're going to talk about next. But, we're not going to do it for another 2 weeks.
It's been a while, yeah.
All right. But we'll do some movie news and another movie soon. Sorry we've been off the mark for a while, but it
was nice to be back.
It is.
Thank you.
We're fine. We're back now, and I think those. I think the problem was with those
old cards.
I think so, because we're at 35 and no problems. So
good.
Fingers crossed.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, folks. We'll talk to you soon. Hugs and kisses.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Toodles.